Real quick, just one housekeeping item. Because we're going to be live streaming tonight so that it can go on the YouTube channel. That way, if you guys have any questions later, you can go back and reference the PowerPoint that we're going to give and ask questions. Even if it's later, we're willing to answer what we can. If you have a question later, we're going to take some questions. If you don't mind, if you could come up here and speak into that mic so the live stream can catch the question, and we'll go from there. So my name is Steve Saxon. I'm the city manager here. Been here a few years. This is Bryant Baker. He's our public works director and largely in charge of all the recreation facilities that we have. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And we're excited that this many people showed up. We kind of anticipated maybe 3. So this is a very large crowd for what we had expected, and we appreciate you being here. First, I want to start off by saying what this is not. This is not a call people out session. We're not trying to say, hey, this is false or this is true. What we're trying to do tonight is just give some facts. We're getting enough, as a staff level, we're getting enough questions from our city council members that we thought, man, we probably need to just have a quick town hall meeting and let everybody know what's going on and get some facts out there that we're aware of. So this is what you may have heard, that we were donated lights from the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. That is fact. We were donated the actual fixtures you can see in this picture. This fixture is HID light, so if I accidentally call it the old style, that's what I'm talking about. So it's not the new LED. This is the old style that was essentially what was there before, is what we were given. So in that picture, man, I kind of need to turn that.
I got you.
You got it? Thank you. So in that picture, what you'll notice is it's only the fixture. So the arms that hold the light, the poles, those are not included. So that's kind of where we started. And there are no bulbs with them, so we started right there. So this is a cost estimate. We had contractors come and take a look at what it was going to take to get those particular lights that were donated, the fixtures that were donated, what will it take to get those ready to go and play ball? So boy, it's hard to see that, but the bottom line is, after you get through, and the next slide has kind of, or maybe it's 2 slides later, has kind of the high points of this, but you're welcome to come see this anytime, or it'll be on the YouTube channel. So the $533,000 to get those up and running, that includes the electric, the poles, the installation of the poles, the brackets, thank you. I was trying to call them ballast, but the brackets. So those are the things that we're trying to. Okay, so the labor, this is kind of a blow up of that same sheet, but it kind of gives you a perspective of what we're talking about. Labor of $50,240. The machinery is $49,357. I'm assuming that's the rental of the machinery to get the done, or is that?
Install the poles.
Install the poles, okay. The materials, $434,000, so that would, 434. This estimate includes 25, so when the tornado came through, we lost 25 of the wooden poles. So this estimate includes 25 80-foot wooden poles. So my immediate question was, why 80 feet, right? Well, according to the lighting company, with that HID, the old lights, that in order to get the proper foot candles, or the light that is on the field, so you can field a ground ball or a fly ball, you've got to have a certain level of foot candles at certain distances. So in order to get that kind of coverage, you need this pole. Now, how much of that is in the ground bake?
10 foot.
10 feet of that would go under the ground, so they're not actually that tall. A lot of it is going to be hidden. 25 disconnect switches, 95 400 volt light bulbs, components, and all the components for installation, and a total for 25-year-old fixture, light, and wooden poles is the 533 that we already talked about. So this, we said, all right, well, let's just do a shot in the dark. How about if we get an estimate for an LED system? Well, come to find out, after all is said and done, the actual LED, because it's a turnkey system, is 354 plus electric, which makes it 439,000. Okay, so what's included in the LED estimate is the exterior fixtures, and so just for your understanding, the tornado passed right over the quad, the softball quad. Those fixtures somehow survived. We don't know how. It took the roof off everything else, but those fixtures stayed intact, thank goodness. And so that is essentially the same type of lighting system that we're talking about putting on the baseball fields. In that case, we're only going to need the 60-foot concrete encased steel poles. Hey, boy, howdy. We're getting close to a quorum here. Welcome. No. Please don't. Yeah, no, you're good. So we'll need 3 70-foot encased concrete poles and pre-wired plug and play cross arms, remote fuses, and distribution panel, on-site push-button off control, and a 10-year maintenance warranty. This cost is $439,300. Okay, so this is more of the LED placement and why we need fewer poles if we go with the LED. And this is kind of how they're going to point the lights if the LED comes into fruition, comes into existence, that we've got coverage and we've got basically better foot candles on the fields than what we had before.
So kind of go back. Can you hear it? All right, so kind of go back to this picture here. I think I talked to a few people in here about Field 5. Is that Field 5 up on the top?
Yeah, the little top.
Yeah, the little top one. So
That's
some of the
field
discussion was that one,
That's field one.
One, okay.
5 would be the 12U field.
so there was some discussion earlier that field may not need to be lit. So what we did, we took comparison 5 for 5 when we talked about the HID and the LED lights. The other thing that we did, we wanted to do a cost comparison of what that HID bulb or that light system would cost us over a year versus an LED light. So this kind of breaks it down. We kind of worked with a couple of electricians. We had an engineer involved in this, and the hours of use per year, we just had to grab a number. Because I can't tell you guys, and you guys probably can't tell me how many hours a year is that light bulb on. So we just grabbed a number of 1,000 hours per year. OG&E charges the city basically 9 cents per kilowatt hour. That HID bulb has a life of about 1,600 hours. Compared to an LED light bulb, that fixture has a 50,000 hours and the replacement needed within that 10 years, no replacement. That HID bulb cost, and that's the cheapest that I could find, is roughly about $150 for that bulb, for the fixtures that have been donated to us. Somebody may be able to find that. We actually went on and tried to find an LED conversion kit for that light fixture. Contacted the company that made that light fixture that was donated to us or to the ball fields. They won't even touch us as giving us a bulb, and they have no option of manufacturing that light fixture ever again. So the labor to replace a bulb, $50, excluding the lift and electrical fees. The lift rental electrician, $500 per fixture for the replacement.
You guys.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It was easier for me to see that one. The HID cost breakdown, basically energy, we guessed, or we didn't guess, but it's 1.5 kilowatts per 1,000 hours per year at 9 cents is $135 a year, so that's $1,350 over a 10-year period. The bulb replacement, 1,600 hour life, one new bulb every 1.6 years, 7 bulbs in a 10-year factory, or I guess. The bulb cost is 7 bulbs at $150, $1,064. The labor, $50 times 70, lift and electrical cost, and it came down to basically over that 10-year period, it's $6,264 for that HID. Oh, for 7 bulbs, if that was the way that we decided to go. The LED cost breakdown, the kilowatts, 1.5 over 1,000 years. Basically, it's $90 per year or $900 over 10 years. So we've already got a $450 savings in that range. No bulb replacements, no lift rentals, no electrician needed. Total LED cost per fixture over 10 years, $900. This kind of breaks it down a little bit more. Our energy savings, $450 over a 10-year period. Maintenance and replacement savings at $4,900. Total savings per fixture, $5,364. Total 10-year savings for 80 fixtures, $5,364 times 80. So over a 10-year period, we save just an electrical cost and maintenance cost about what LED lights are going to cost us to put up. So it's almost a wash on that when you look at the LED versus the HID. One of the things too you saw in there was a 10-year warranty for the LED bulbs. It's the same thing that we have at the quad. I think that came out to about a 15-year warranty that we had on the quad. We've got about 2 or 3 years left on that. But what happens is when there's a light bulb that goes out, those lights there are monitored by the company. I'll get a phone call, an email, or a text, and they say, hey, light bulb number 36 is out or whatever it is, and they come and replace that at no charge to the city. That's just, they are monitoring that. They come and take care of that. That's what this system would be like if we went LED at the baseball complex. That makes sense? Okay. We just kind of threw in some requirements of the baseball facility operator, current operated by the Seminole Youth Association. The association is responsible for all necessary maintenance, including mowers, weed eaters, rakes. You guys all know that. Provide all labor for upkeep of the facility, including concessions, field maintenance, restrooms, restroom stocking, trash pickup, polycart. The city's responsibility is towards or for the association. We pay the utilities, provide dirt. That's kind of a mutual deal between the city and the association. We pay for the trash service, fence maintenance replacement, and plumbing expenses. And I think I'll turn this back over to City Manager Saxon.
Yeah, thank you. And so one of the things that we're worried about, I guess is the best way to put it, is the HID bulbs. If the manufacturer of those fixtures isn't making them anymore, is there a point in the future where no manufacturer manufactures those bulbs and we can't get them to replace? So that was adding to some of the concerns that we had with going back into the HID. So now the question that everybody came to get answered is, when are we going to get lights at the Blake All Fields, right? So I think in order to give you an answer, and I'm not going to be able to tell you a date, but in order to give you an answer, I think I have to tell you what the city council, the mayor, is struggling with right now. So here's what we've got. Recently, what we have to spend over and above the operations in the city government is about $750,000. So in order to, we have a lot of requests. I put some of the highlights up here. Right now, I think we've got about $7.5 million in requests from different department heads. So I know Baker wants a new track hoe to do repairs on the sewer lines. We've got $750,000 to spend, and that's what the council gets to talk about. They can cut staff, they can do a lot of things, but in the end, right now, without doing any of that, they have $750,000 to spend. So here are a few of the requests. We've got the $439,000 that Bryant has on his sheet to build a new LED system for the baseball fields. We also have $110,000 in police cars that need to be bought. We've got some that are going down, if they're not already down, that need to be replaced. A $250,000 ambulance. I don't even have the fire truck requested because that seems a little ridiculous to me. The price that they've got on it scares me. We need to do about $300,000 in street overlay and reconstruction on some streets that are in really bad shape. And then we've got $250,000 annually that we try to spend fixing sewer and water lines. So we've got a crew that is their only job, is to replace some of these 100 or 80-year-old sewer and water lines that we've got buried in Seminole. And that's their job. We try to get them 1.5 miles each per year. In order to do that, we spend about $250,000 in buying pipe and bedding for that crew. So that's on this sheet. We've got $1.2 million in meter reading equipment. I would say we are way behind, but I'm going to tell you that 75% of the communities that are larger than us have an automated meter reading system. Some of you that got meters in our town don't believe they get read anyway. So this takes care of that situation, and that's been on this ask of the city council for several years. Okay, but that's 1.2 million already by itself. $200,000, I mentioned the backhoe replacement, $85,000 to replace one of the tractors that we use in mowing all the parks. And so $870,000. If you're not aware, the old water tower down here south of the tracks on Wewoka Street?
Yes.
Or Gale? Wewoka?
Yeah.
All right. If you're not aware, we've taken that out of service and it needs to be replaced. And our plan is to replace it with another water tower. We did get a grant. The EPA actually gave us about $4 million to build another water tower. And they've asked us to match it with $870,000. So, man, we're going to get free money. It's hard to turn down for a new water tower. So my point in showing you this is that the council is really having to wrestle with what are the priorities, okay? Right now, they've got a beautiful sports complex. It's all turf out there, and we're able to play on that in addition to some daytime games at Blake Auld. Is there any way we can defer that to pick some of these things off of this list before we get into building an LED system? So that's some of what's going on. And this is just another, right now, the principal thing that our city council is wrestling with is how do we pay for a wastewater treatment plant? The EPA and the Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality have come down on Seminole, and in fact, they tried to fine us last month and said, if you guys don't build a new sewer plant, we're going to start fining you daily. We can't do that. So the council said, hey, we've got to find a way to build a new sewer plant. We've done everything we can to get to that point, but now we're about to start making payments in October of next year. Not this year, but next year. We have to start making payments on a USDA loan. And that payment is going to be about $780,000. That's not in our budget. That would eat every penny that I just showed you. We've got about $750,000 per year to spend. That would mean no ambulances, no park maintenance, nothing for the next 40 years. So That's what the council's having to wrestle with. To me, that's important for you guys to understand. We're trying, we're writing grants when we can, and doing what is necessary to try to get those lights back up. But right now, these are the options that the council are having to do with the wastewater treatment plant. Again, these will be on the YouTube channel. Please, if you've got friends that are curious about this, want to know what's happening, refer them to the city's YouTube channel. This will all be on, it's live streamed. So at this point, I think what we probably want to do is go back and answer any questions that you might have. Anybody have a question? Yes, sir.
That mic.
Yes, that.
Yeah, my question would be, were the lights insured prior to the tornado? And if they were, did the city receive the monies for those? And if they did, I guess, where were they allocated?
Okay, good. Great question. And the answer is, the city had $200,000 in coverage for all outbuildings. And when the adjuster came in, that was his answer is, yep, they're covered. It's part of the $200,000 that's going to cover the rest of the 1.5 miles worth of damage that we had. So we had specific buildings insured, but we didn't have anything at the baseball facility under individual coverage. They were all considered outbuildings, okay? So we got $200,000, and almost all of that went into roof replacement for water wells, fencing at the baseball fields and the softball. So all of that went into replacing things that were damaged during the tornado. We did receive the $200,000 to answer your question. Yes, sir.
I've got some questions and some comments. To start with, on fencing at Blake Ald after the tornado, that man himself there helped repair the fence. We repaired the fence at Blake Ald after the tornado and the last flood out of my pocket personally.
Okay.
Brian can attest to that. He watched me do it. I missed a memo that I shouldn't have repaired the fence until the insurance adjuster came. That's how I know that to be true. We had a conversation about it. Also, playing out the college is a help, but not much of a help. In saying that, we get to use the fields 3 days a week only, no practicing on the fields. And the lighting out there is, I don't know if you've been out there in the dark, Steve, but it's not great. The first field down the hill where we play 10U, it's lit pretty good. The 12U field, if you don't have a very big moon, it's pretty dangerous after about 7 o'clock. Line shots could be tough to judge. It's not great. And as you know, the bottom field doesn't have any lights at all.
We don't use the small.
Yeah, we don't use the small field for T-ball other than for the littles.
I got your 4-year-olds play out there for 1 day a week.
Yeah, 4-year-olds play 1 day a week out there. Yeah, and if
Elder.
rainy weeks, it's not very accessible for elderly fans. There's a whole lot of issues with that park in general, just accessibility. Logistically, it's not very good. We're very thankful to have it while we don't have this to play on at nighttime because it is a big help, but it's logistically hard. The college boys don't do the greatest job of keeping it picked up, and I know Danny's working on that, but there's been some issues just at the start of this season about, things not being where they should and trash being everywhere after tournaments, but that's neither here nor there. The main thing with Blake Ald, if we could get LED lights, that would be great. That'd be awesome. It's a huge expense. We don't have it. The city obviously doesn't have it. What are some options moving forward where we can figure out how to make that happen? Because not only does it need lights, it needs new infrastructure. The buildings are, the tornado we tore one of them down before it fell down. The other one's there, but it's just there. The one up the hill is about in the same condition. We kind of have a plan. I know I've always got a group of guys that volunteer anytime I need anything, and they come with saws and hammers and equipment. They're ready to get something done. So getting buildings down there, getting new roofs on dugouts, getting fences repaired, that's not a problem, but all that contingents on having lights. Without lights, all that's for nothing, you know what I mean? So I think we need to come up with a plan as to how we're gonna get that done. I mean, did we not receive any disaster relief money for parks, recreation, that type of thing?
No. FEMA determined that we were insured well enough that we were not eligible.
Yeah, what was the 200,000 was just for?
That was insurance.
For it?
Yeah,
For
that
everything.
was for all outbuildings throughout the entire damaged path. So, I want to try to answer your question, Mike. So, I don't have a quick answer for you.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, the council is struggling with a lot of other things that they're gonna have to pay
I know
for.
the
But I
sewer
will
plant's a
tell
huge
you
expense.
that, in my experience, if you guys go out and raise money, I don't have a number even, but let's take Boomtown, for example. Boomtown got an organization together, they raised, I don't remember how much, yeah, around $500,000. And the council saw that and said, you know what, we'll pitch in extra money to get this thing happening. So, anytime that kind of thing happens out with the citizens, I've seen the council respond almost every time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's not another league comparable to Seminoles League year in and year out within driving distance. The Pot County League's a traveling league. All the other little towns around, their little leagues have folded up. We run a consistent 50-team league, usually close to that. Baseball has taken a hit in the last couple of years because of facilities. This year's record softball, you're right,
Right.
record teams for
There's
softball.
74
this year.
teams between both of softball and baseball.
And 50 of them are
No,
softball.
39 are softball.
Yeah, 39 are softball. That's a big number for teams. And what, probably 2/3 of those are out-of-town teams?
Pretty much, yeah, we got quite a few out there.
I mean, we have a big draw. We draw from about 4 or 5 counties for Little League. So we have that many people in Seminole every week spending their money, stopping at Brahms for ice cream, you know. And like I said, the baseball league has taken a direct hit. The teams usually over the years have been pretty even for softball and baseball through my tenure there. But baseball has dipped.
This first year softball's beat
Baseball, yeah, first year. And it's just because facilities, man, we don't have enough
Can't,
facilities.
grandparents don't go watch them, they can't go down that hill. I know that,
For my team personally, my 10U baseball team, I have several grandmas and great grandmas that don't go when we play at Blake Hall because they can't get down there.
No,
It's just,
turf.
you know,
turf, the turf.
that's what about
You
turf,
said,
yeah. Turf. But they just don't, you know, it's hard to access for the older folks. It's a half a mile walk if you go to the AD fields back.
Okay, my question is, okay, I know that maybe down the road, I talked to 3 different people today up in Wisconsin, New Hampshire, stuff about just those bulbs. We can get them right now, might not be accessible 5-6 years down the road. We've got those donated. Regulation for Little League ball is 50 feet on the poles. So if you've got 60-foot poles, you got 10 foot under there, and, because no adults play in those fields, they're too short a fence. The adults, if I have co-ed, they play at softball. So 50 foot could work. Wooden poles, we've got donations on those. If they're not insured, then what difference does it make on what poles? OG&E they said that if we get the poles, they'll come down and set them for us, donated.
Hang the fixtures.
And, yeah, and, so if we can keep just that cost, like, work together, keep that cost to a minimum where we can go get some donations, get some stuff going, just for right now, until some of this stuff in the city settles down. The water treatment, we don't wanna take away from that, I know how important that is. All that stuff, if we can keep ours at a minimum, and then come back maybe in 5-6 years when we've got money saved up, or don't, get those LED, I mean, like I said, keep ours at a bare minimum. Get as much donated as we can, not the $400,000, keep it at a bare minimum. Would that not work, where we can get it quicker and just kind of, I know it sounds like a Band-Aid, I mean, it does, but,
I'll go
donate all the trenching and everything, my company, free of charge.
That's, you know.
Let me take that out there.
But I know those bulbs are gonna be accessible, and like, the hours and the thing, I know what, probably 250 hours for spring season is what we'd use for the lights. That's including practices, that's including league. If we have fall ball, sometimes we don't, sometimes, it's been working lately, then that's only 6 weeks. So you're looking at maybe 100 hours. So you're looking at maybe 400 hours a year is what your hour usage is gonna be. So, I mean, and, cause they don't have they can't turn them on and off, so people can't just go down there and play and turn them on. We have to have a key, turn it on and off. So it's not something that would just get turned on for somebody to go down and play, you know, a roundabout game or whatever, pickup game. So, I mean, if we could do something where we kept it at just like a bare minimum, just so we could get these boys in to play for 5-6 years, and then we go for a long-term LED plan. I don't know if that's an option, but it's an idea.
But if you know it's in your future, then we can start building
Yeah.
to save for it.
I spoke
So-
briefly
Find
with
the
Brian
funds
about a
for it.
10-year plan earlier, that probably everybody in this room, for the most part, kids won't be around for. But if we can make Blake Hall what it once was for the foreseeable future, and then plan and get some grants and do some things for Seminole baseball, you know, a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan, and make it what it was for now, and then, you know, build something better for the future.
We could probably get fixtures for the price of those bulbs, even
We've got
without even just
fixtures.
going. I know,
We've got
but
the fixtures.
Even if we just went, changed to LEDs, for the $150 a bulb, we could probably get fixtures and just use wooden poles and use all this.
We have the fixtures, we just need bulbs and poles.
Yeah, I know, but instead of buying the bulb, the bulb is actually $150. We could probably get an LED fixture.
Now, I actually talked to several people today. Those fixtures that we have, if you converted them to LED, it is more expensive than
It's
just to buy an
buying
LED.
fixture.
What you're
That's what you
saying.
found.
No,
out.
She's talking about taking out a whole
No,
LED.
you're talking about getting a whole new fixture.
It's.
Oh, yeah, so
So
in the future, we would already have the poles, you're correct. In the future, we'd already have the poles. So the only thing we'd be looking at in the future is the actual bracket, or the fixtures itself. Because the poles
But
would
you're
be
saying
set, everything else would be there.
new fixtures now and use the
Okay,
donated.
okay, hang on.
So
We all want to hear what's being said back there, so you threw a lot at me, okay? You threw a lot at me. Blake Hall's been damaged for 3 years, and this is the first time I'm hearing some of that. So yes, obviously, the answer is yes. We're gonna do whatever we can on our end to let you guys get it back, at least let them play. Now,
60-foot poles are attainable locally. CVEC and OG&E both said they would put me in direct contact with their supplier for 60-foot poles, but 80-foot poles in this area for a
Okay.
wooden utility pole is unheard of. They don't.
Yep.
they don't
Hey,
carry.
speak into that so we can hear you. Yep,
So 60-foot light poles are attainable locally. CVC and OG&E both can put me in direct contact with their purchaser where they buy the poles from, and 60-foot poles are readily available. 80-foot wooden poles are hard to come by, especially in this part of the world, because nobody in this part of the world use 80-foot wooden poles.
okay.
If we can get by with having 50 foot out of the ground, those poles are attainable. I don't have a cost on those right off the top of my head, but I could get one in the next day or two.
I thought they was gonna be donated.
Yeah, I heard donated.
I heard it was gonna be donated.
Well, CVC said if they had extras, they would donate.
Oh.
OG&E will donate the labor and putting them up and installing the
Yeah,
light fixtures and all
definitely
of
OG
that.
would come down, OG&E would donate their
Yeah.
time.
Nope.
They get so many hours a month.
The Oklahoma City office said they would
So how
donate.
many poles would we need if there's 60?
So that's the other thing. With the LED lights, you have 13 poles. With the wooden poles, you have to have about 25 poles. Because
Don't you need about 6 on each field? Well, and-
What the cost would be, we just have to have a pocket pay for it.
yes, they done that right before you got here. He's got
So-
it on the slide.
I think,
Just be specific.
This ain't on, is it?
Not all of it.
so I think one of the questions when we start talking about the lower poles, I think somebody brought it up, how many poles would we need? So we were basing that off of the existing lights that were there previous to the tornado, 25, the height, the whole 9 yards. Overall, we want to look at, and I think you talked about at the college, we have some fields down there that we have some dark spots. If we go with a lower pole, my question would be, do we need more poles in order to get more lighting on those fields?
So
You know,
the same fixtures that we have were donated to several high schools around as well. Strother High School, you've seen their lights playing, those are the same fixtures, come from the same place, they mounted them on their 50-foot, their 60-foot poles, but they got 50 foot of them out of the ground.
So I'm not an electrician, I'm not an
Me
engineer.
either,
And the last thing that I want to take is responsibility for that pole not being the right height.
yeah.
And is that pole new or is that a used pole that Canadian Valley's given you?
I'm not sure.
Because
They-
that's
they
the
set 'em.
issue, that's the reason why those poles had to come down is because of the age of the poles.
Yes,
So I think when we start talking about going back with the wood and we start getting stuff donated to us, there's a lot of questions that we need to put on a piece of paper and we've got to have somebody answer those questions that are smarter than I am
I agree.
when it comes to ball field lighting. And that's the reason why Steve and I had reached out to the LED company to put that together, because those lights, you saw the plan up there where those lights are directed in certain directions in order to get the right candela, and we're not putting somebody's kid in danger because of a pop fly and not being able to see. The other part of that is, you know, there's a lot of conversation going on now, and I think it's great that we started this conversation 100%. And you mentioned something about a 2-year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10. And I'm assuming you guys have a board with the association.
Yes,
My response to that would be, put together a plan and bring it to us. Tell us what you need from us as a city that we can help you get these lights back up. And if it is that we start with the wood lights or the wood poles and the lights we have now, hey, that's great. But what does that plan look like and what is the cost associated with that? And then that gives us that first 2-year plan, and then we move, what is your 5-year plan? Where do we want to be in 5 years? And I don't know if anybody in here is on the board, but I think that's something that the council, my council, our council, would probably want to see is that. Because if we take that, hey,
we
we're
kind of
getting this
alluded,
donated, this donated, this donated, they're going to come back with questions. So we kind of need, I would say, a business plan.
we kind of alluded to that back in the summer when we had the meetings about Little League Baseball. We put together a pretty good little plan then, and it's essentially the same. Our goal is still the same.
I
I
stopped on
don't-
wood because we showed us we couldn't use wood.
We thought,
So
you know,
I had, but
because it was-
we
it was
can go
under-
back down that avenue and find out what we
No,
got.
Yeah.
the only way that I said you couldn't use, I gave you 2 options tonight.
Yeah.
One was the lights you guys currently have with the wood poles to go back
Right.
identical the way that it was.
Yeah,
And then the other option would be something that would give us a 10-year lifespan that we wouldn't have to worry about cost-wise for the next 10 years if something happened, broke, or any of that. That's the 2 options that we wanted to give you guys tonight to get everybody thinking and get this ball rolling. We want the lights up just as bad as everybody in this room, trust me.
So if we raise part of the money, you're willing to pitch in the park too?
Well, that's not my choice, but I think it's something that you guys should, that's the business plan that you would bring to the council and let the council determine on that. You know, and I think one of the things, and I think Steve mentioned Boomtown Playground. You know, they went out and did a fundraiser, and depending on what you gave, you have your name on that Boomtown Playground. And they've got different names for it. So one of the things, you know, could be for you guys, hey, let's start this fundraising activity, and if you donate this much money, you're part of the Grand Slam Club. If you donate this much money, you're a home run club hitter, or a triple, or a double, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have yourself different tiers, set an amount of money to that, and start advertising that fundraiser in our papers, social media. You know, you guys reach more people than the 2 of us sitting up here on a daily basis. And you guys know a lot more people that would probably be financially able or willing to donate money for a cause like this. I mean, we're talking about our youth and the future of this community, and the last thing we want to do is have those guys go play somewhere else or go somewhere whenever they graduate, right? So that would be something that I would suggest. Just shot in the dark, you guys may come up with something different. But me saying, yeah, we'll back, I mean, that's the council, but like Steve said, if you come with a little bit of seed money,
I don't think I said a little bit.
so
So,
what happens if the Little League doesn't have that kind of money, you guys know that, the city doesn't have that kind of money. What happens if we can't raise this money for lights? What happens to Blake Hall? What happens to the Little League of Seminole? This is questions we're gonna have to face the next couple of years if we don't get this going. That's reality.
Well, my assumption is it would carry on the way it is, that we're playing in daylight hours unless you guys can convince the council that those priority items are not as big a priority as.
I'm
So,
not
hang on.
discounting the priorities of the town,
Okay,
man.
hang
I'm
on.
not.
Let me say this, two things. Number one is liability. Baker kind of alluded to that. So supervision is a big piece of that, all right? If you go down there and put 50-foot lights, and we were told already that you need 70-foot lights to get the coverage necessary, but you guys promise us that, hey, we're only gonna play 5-year-olds on this field. 7-year-olds show up, it's rained down the field, hey, let's just play it on this. Somebody gets their face crushed. Now it's my problem. I've got a big liability issue because we were told that was not sufficient and we did it anyway. So that is a big problem. The fundraising piece of this, I think you guys are looking at it as a big mountain. I don't see that. I mean, I really don't. I'm talking, there's so many people that would participate in this. If it were me and I was in that organization, I would be at the American Legion saying, hey, we need $100,000 and we're gonna give you a plaque on the bottom 3 fields. And go to Bar S, hey, we need blank, and start raising that money, and then you can come back to the city council and say, hey, look what we've done. We want to finish this off, you guys help us. And as long as it's not a $539,000 bite of the elephant, they can take on some of that, typically. That's been my experience. They've always, if somebody shows up with the passion, and they've shown they've got the passion by raising that money, they almost always, well, I can't think of a time that they didn't come in and do their part.
Is this the only estimate you got?
Can you?
Of trade places.
Is this the only estimate?
Is this the one on the wood pole? Yes. Yeah, this is the only one that I have for the wood poles. It was short notice. Now I've got half a dozen of them that go with the LED.
That was the cheapest one you put tonight.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
pretty reasonable.
And like I said, you know, that upper field that we talked about at the very start, I just did it 5 fields for 5 fields. If that one doesn't need to be lit, of course, that price comes down. But as far as the wooden, I mean, it was hard for me to find somebody that would put a stamp on that this is the size pole you need, this is the light you need, this is the way it needs to be set up as far as to get the full coverage. And that was one of the issues that I was having, was finding somebody that would go back with that pole or that style of light. So, and there may be somebody out there. But, you know, if the poles get donated, I think at some point we've got to have you guys or us as a group, we've got to have somebody look at that plan and tell us exactly where those poles need to go. And like I said, I just went off of what we took down, because if you look out there, the existing pole, the 10-foot that's in the ground, is sawed off. So we kind of knew where those had to go back.
Any other questions?
If a group of us gets together and we climb this mountain, as you say, you know, it's, regardless of how big it is or it isn't, if we do this and we get contractors, you know, there's business owners in the towns, if we come up with the funds to do this, obviously it's gonna be city property. What is a reasonable expectation then from the city? If we do this, we get these fields in this condition, none of us will want to see a $200,000 blanket umbrella coverage. Tornado blows it all to smithereens, and then we're back to square one. So what kind of commitment can the city provide that it's gonna be covered?
Excellent question.
And the
So,
reason being is because it's mutually beneficial to both of us. You're gonna get tax revenue, you're gonna get revenue for the city, our kids are gonna have Little League.
excellent question. So, we've had that specific discussion with our insurer. The Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group, OMAG, is who most cities use as their insurance. And they do annual audits, and nobody could have anticipated a 1.5-mile swath of damage coming through Seminole. So, but we have addressed that. We are going to be insuring and upping the insurance. Along with that comes increased insurance premiums, right? So that has to be factored in. When you guys come back and say, hey, we've now got it back up, it's $533,000 worth of replacement value, and I go back to my insurance company and try to add that, I don't know what the premium's gonna be, but I can promise you it's gonna go up significantly. So that's a cost that the city council has to fit into, hey, are we gonna replace a firefighter? Are we gonna lay off a police officer to be able to cover that or not? So those are tough calls that our city council has to wrestle with.
I was under the assumption that we couldn't hold property insurance on there because of the flood zone of where it's at. So damaged property on there's a wash. Like, I know we have a insurance that protects from injury there.
Right.
But I was under the impression that, there's no insurance for fence money or backstop money or whatever. Because
Yeah,
of
the
where
fences,
fields are located.
yeah, the fences we've made so many claims on. It's, yeah, I don't see anybody covering the fences. Now, the poles, I'm thinking that we probably can, and that's the critical piece of that. That's something that we just can't jump out there and do. And it's hard to get volunteers that are capable of doing that. But Mike, I don't have a direct answer for you tonight that says yes or no, and I don't have an answer for you that yes, the city council will commit, but I can tell you that if you guys did it, my experience shows that the city council is going to absolutely do their part.
Have a couple questions on budgeting. One being, is the city of Seminole zero-based budgeting? And what I mean by
Meaning
that
that we
is
have to
every
have-
dollar, you start at zero and then everything's approved
Yes,
to whatever, through the police department, fire department. They all have their budget completely laid out. Is that correct?
absolutely, every
Okay.
year.
So it's all completely laid out every year. As far as this fiscal year, was anything budgeted for Parks and Recs or anything like that? For these?
Yes. But I'll let Baker address that.
So the Parks and Rec has its own budget. That's a group of guys that have made up of 4 people. You can see that Parks and Rec, I think the council this year gave us roughly about $87,000. You'll notice that a park was redone on McGuire Park on Struthers. Another park was completely renovated on its Chase Park. Those 2 were the major parks that the council wanted to have improved. So that money was earmarked as a CIP, a community improvement project that we corrected and finished. The other portion is, if you guys didn't know, the city owns Northwood Elementary Park. There was an upgrade to that park that is just on the verge of getting completed probably in the next 7 days. So right now, 3 major parks have been completely redone. Now, along with that, we have Boomtown Playground, which we have an annual budget for cleaning, maintenance, annual renewal, things like that. There are things on there that we have to take care of also annually. I don't know if I answered your question right or not.
Okay, so the ballpark is part of that budget?
The ballpark is part of the budget.
Was anything allocated for the ballpark at all this year?
No, I was never told that the ballpark needed anything other than the lights. But I have not seen a plan to correct the lights. I've got pricing to fix that. That has been put on the CIP list since, I think, a year after the tornado to be addressed by the council. I can't make that decision as far myself and for my crews. I can't make that decision where that money's
Okay,
spent.
so who's the
We-
department head of the Parks and Recreation?
I am.
Okay, so the way I would look at it is it's your job to know what they need.
Yeah, and it was put on the CIP list for the council to approve.
Okay?
I don't
That's
have
what
any-
I'm asking.
I don't have any
I'm
say.
not calling anybody out,
No.
I'm asking,
No,
what
I
is
know.
it put on there, or
Yes.
is there anything allocated? Because if there's nothing allocated for this year, then your budget comes, you've got a new budget starting July 1,
Give me an
correct?
example. So what are you wanting fixed?
Well, let's just say plumbing was part of your deal. Okay?
Okay.
The bathrooms, the plumbing in the bathrooms is horrid. I mean,
Plumbing or
it's,
the condition?
New
No,
toilets,
the-
a million new toilets.
Okay.
well,
One's up the hill, got new toilets.
Okay, so that has been taken, the one upstairs or up on the hill,
Yeah.
both those bathrooms have new toilets. There is a plumbing issue there that I was made aware of Monday, I believe, and that's getting addressed tomorrow morning. We've already had a plumber out there, and my line construction crew will be there either tomorrow morning, by Saturday, it will be corrected.
On his
Okay.
defense on all that, when we used those this weekend, it wasn't in the plan. Because the girls got rained out, so, and the boys were scheduled at the quad. I would have had to bump the girls for the boys to get to play. So we used the downhill one, and literally, it was just like a 4-day plan that we came up with. So,
And his guys went above and beyond to
Yeah.
try to make that happen.
yeah, they did. They came in, and within 2 days, we had a broken stool up there, they came in, put new stools in. So, right now, he doesn't have anything because we're not using the downhill. All we're using this season is the uphill. He's got that fixed, which is the bathrooms, and that roofing is gonna get, I've got that already taken care of. I mean, somebody's gonna come in and fix that there at the concession.
Normally Jennifer does a really good job if she has something that becomes an issue, because I don't have the availability or my guys to walk through those facilities on a daily basis. And Jennifer does a good job of letting me know, hey, can you take a look at this? And we address
And
that ASAP.
okay, I understand.
Jennifer and I have gotten together, we've got a game plan moving forward for next year's budget. And I'll keep that between the two of
Okay,
us.
I
but-
guess that's really what I'm
Yes.
asking, is there any plans to have anything
I think we're on the
budgeted
June
for
budget,
these
right?
facilities?
Aren't we on for the June?
Yeah. So that's usually how that works. I mean, I've got 7 departments underneath me. I rely on my supervisors. I rely on different organizations such as the golf course. If they have an issue, they address that with me. Hey, can we look at this for next year's budget? Can you see if you can get that budgeted? So that is something that we've started, Jennifer and I, this year. So we have a list together that we can put onto the 25-26 budget. And hopefully from there, we'll start getting some things taken care of. But the small things like you're talking about, the plumbing, and usually when I know about it, when she calls me, it's addressed within 24 hours. If it can't be fixed, then I'll send her a text. Hey, it's gonna take me probably 3 days before we can get to that. But we'll have it up and running before the next ball game.
So that's what I guess what I was asking, is anything allocated for that ball field? So there's gotta be some maintenance money allocated.
So when it comes
to
to
a
the
degree.
maintenance side of it, I have one line item that says maintenance. And out of that, I have 16 parks. And that
Okay.
doesn't include
I got you.
the softball quad or the baseball or the golf course.
It doesn't or does?
Does not.
Does not?
That's 16 regular parks that this city has
Okay.
inside the city limits.
So-
That maintenance budget has to go towards those, plus the 2 fields and the golf course.
Okay, so the quad, the golf course, and the ballpark does not have its own line item or maintenance budget or anything?
Not classically what you're talking about. I probably need to say, what we do, and it's in the contracts with those users, they have a park user fee, okay? We keep that separate. So if they pay in $3,300 this year, we kind of treat it, please don't tell my treasurer, but we kind of keep that over there as their money. All right, so when they call, say, hey, I need some diamond dry or something, the dirt, we're taking it out of that.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's where the toilet repairs and the bathroom fixes came from, was that money that we had received from the association.
that you
previously,
received.
yes.
So that brings you back to another, I guess the main question that I was trying to get to then. We climb this mountain, we get $300,000 worth of donations. Does that have to be turned into the city, or does the association hold it? City manager, I guess that would be kind of your,
Yeah, so I think in order to have it, from a safety standpoint, I would prefer to have it donated to the city and we can do it.
okay.
We'll use the people that you're getting quotes from or receiving donations from. We can give them tax letters if they donate to the city, and I'm sure in Canadian Valley's opinion, they would love to have that. Or,
For the stuff that we can handle, we just donate ourselves. I mean, the man that's talking is the one down there on a shovel when I need him, swinging a hammer, putting a roof on a dugout, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The stuff that we can handle, we don't ask for if we can fix it ourselves. It's been that way since I've been involved. If it's broken, I can fix it, we just fix it.
we're in favor of that.
Well, where I'm coming from is I was in city government for 22 years. And I received donations for programs. And when those donations went into the city coffers for the program, it doesn't necessarily mean the city council has to give that money back to that program. City council can do what they want with the money. So if we raise a substantial amount of money like that, what I would wonder is what kind of guarantee, because I see what you have up here, and some of them are recurring expenses, but some of them are like the 1.2 million meter reading. That's an important thing, and that's a long term. That's a long term thing. And all of a sudden, if they get, I would just hate to see a big donation come in and it actually be utilized for something else, because maybe they're planning on giving it back down the road a little bit.
Well, I don't know what city government you were involved with, but I feel sorry for you. We don't play that way, all right? We never have and we never will. As long as I'm around, we won't. If that money comes in for that specific purpose, that's where it's gonna go.
As a city manager, that's all I want to hear from you.
Period.
City manager.
Period.
I speak to that, I say he's exactly right on what he's saying.
Yeah, I've been on the council for 19 years, and we
Mayor will not
Never.
let that happen.
That,
But to help Brian out, Kim, didn't isn't Northwood responsible for their own parks since they put that fence up? That was what Mike said.
We thought so, but doesn't necessarily work out that way.
How in the world did they get away with that?
Because they lock it up, it's not available to the public.
How did they get away with that? That's not right.
It's a, what was the grant?
Land, water, conservation.
That was part of that, right? So the LWCF, this was way before my time, and that's why we have as many parks as we do. That was part of the agreement. It was given to the city. In return, whenever Northwood School was built there, they needed a park, and this was a mutual agreement between the city of Seminole and Seminole Public Schools. We do have a working relationship with both of them. That park that was put in, I talked about that we refurbished, they spent more money than what the city did towards that refurbishment of that park. So they have probably 75% more money in that than what the city of Seminole does at this time. So it's a great working relationship, but that's how that came about.
just to finish mine, the city I work for was a great city. They did not do anything like that.
Okay.
But that is something that is something
I
that,
was worried, man.
that is something
I
that
was
can
sitting
be
there trying
done.
to think, oh, is it
No.
Yukon or?
No,
It's
no, close, but it wasn't that one. Thank you.
Well, again, I think, just what Steve said earlier, we had a great turnout tonight. I think you guys have been great. You've asked the right questions. Hopefully, we've been able to answer all those questions up to now. And don't think that we don't want to do it with Blake Old Field. We want that to come back to the way it was. A lot of people in this room played there. A lot of you had kids playing there. A lot of you had dads, granddads, everybody. And one of the things we talked about was, when was Blake Old Field built? I mean,
You know the answer to that, John, we were talking about that earlier. Do you know how long the fields have been there?
that's a slow motion.
So, I mean,
But those
No,
fields,
wait.
70s.
No. Before I got on the council in 2006, and we did it.
No, what were the
The actual
fields?
field.
The
Oh,
act-
good lord.
Yeah, all-
somebody said you played baseball on them as a kid. Somebody said you played baseball on them as a kid.
No, I played at the Armory.
So they're
But-
right there then.
So.
We know-
Is good,
55?
so he played.
So we know there's as much value to that to you guys as it is to us as a city. So, you know, like we've talked about, come up with some seed money. Let's get a game plan together. And you guys, you've got enough experience and enough workers out here that have construction equipment that we can make this happen in no time flat.
We had one more question. Do you mind coming to the mic? Thank you.
I think.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
I
off.
kind of touched on it a while ago about the insurance, and so you guys are asking for a plan, 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, obviously, with insurance. When would that be able to be answered, to protect essentially our investment, if you will, that's gonna benefit the whole community? The second thing is, if I understood right, with the budgeting, you've got 16 parks and they've got their own budget, and then the budget that's currently for the Blake Auld and the fields is what the Little League pays for those? Is that what I understand?
So for the parks, the baseball fields are included in the parks. I'm just giving you guys an example of not only do we have the 2 parks, baseball, softball, but we also have another 16 parks to go along with that.
Understood.
So our budget doesn't break out maintenance for each one of them. It's more of, we try to spread it out evenly amongst them all. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. We know that, and I know as being in charge of that lights are priority one.
Sure.
And I think, you know, the number one thing on the list it's on my CIP list is the lights for the ball fields. That's not a decision that I make. It's just
Understood.
it's an ask.
To answer your insurance question, before we accepted your donation, we would have it answered.
Sure.
All right?
Well, we just don't want to go out, you know, I think it would be kind of an answer that we would want, because we don't want to go get this large sum of money and then we don't get what we want on this side and feel comfortable doing it, and then we would look like fools.
Yeah.
The other thing is if we do this, can we get some kind of assurance from you guys that you will allocate specifically for the upkeep of that? Let's say we go out and we get this $500,000 and we bring all these things back to glory. What assurance do we have that there's gonna be money in that budget to keep the upkeep that's reasonable for those facilities, to keep them operating and looking the way that we want them to look, if we're able to attain that?
Another really good question. Do you live in the city?
I do.
Okay. I'll answer it this way. I cannot give you assurance because the state law says that we cannot bind the next city council. So every April, we have an election and we install a new city council. That city council can reverse anything that's been done previous. So I don't want to give you false hope, and I'm not going to promise things that I can't deliver. So I'm just going to tell you that if you make it shiny, my experience is that the city council gets behind it and does everything they can to keep it that way. And I think Boomtown Playground is a prime example. There were a lot of people that donated good money and spent a lot of their own sweat and blood building the first Boomtown, and then they came back with the city council and did it again. So,
Who was in charge of the upkeep of that, the original one? Was it the
the
city?
city, yes, sir.
Because it crashed.
And the problem was you guys that deal in construction, when the wood got to that point, there was no coming back.
Sure.
Cost-wise, to try to repair or make replacement, it was more expensive than going out and getting funding to do a brand new one. So now the one that's there, you guys have seen it, it's low maintenance, it's low keep,
Yep.
and this thing will be there for a while.
Thank you.
And it's got cameras so we can see the vandals on a regular basis.
What came up with the sticks? The sticks down here at McGuire and the sticks over here. Where is that engineer? Because I've been on those sticks up there and I just don't understand what the point of that is. I think somebody would be.
Well, it is engineered. It is engineered by Game Time or Gameplay.
McGuire too?
Huh?
This is not anything, this is just my
Yeah.
comments.
McGuire, you're talking about the climbing poles.
Yeah, what in the world are those things?
So you got them at Boomtown, you got them at McGuire, and you got them at Chase Park.
Chase has
And-
got some too?
Mhm.
You see 'em.
And believe it or not, it's the most requested item that was on the list when we tried to put those parts together.
Get out of town.
I kid you not. The most requested item that was on the list.
The rumor that that was sponsored by local doctors is not true.
It has to be.
The rumor that engineers, with 15 years in the industry, I can attest, it doesn't, just because an engineer said it.
Right. Yep.
Brian, I know you're the city works manager or whatever, and you have a grandson that's playing young, I have a young son, a young daughter. I think we all just want to, I know you said you can't give assurance because city council rolls over and votes, but I think you understand what we're getting
Yeah,
at.
definitely.
We don't want to go out and hustle all this money and like Mike said, whatever we can do and do. We've got tools, we've got know-how, we've got plenty of it, but at the end of the day, it's yours.
Yeah.
And we just want some type of assurance, something that just says that this is beautiful, it's in working order, it's great for our town, and the city is gonna benefit from it, and we just wanna see it
Yeah.
kept that way,
100%.
preserved.
The key in that is the annual maintenance, all right? So if I'm being fully transparent here, our real worry behind closed doors is what happens after John and Jennifer, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, I was talking. It was important.
At least you weren't asleep.
It was good, the mayor. That's not what it was.
You know, what happens, and
Little League's not gonna die.
that's, but you have to agree that the participation that we had in the 90s and the 2000s is not at a level that it is
Oh,
today,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. I've been here
we're-
28 years and it's, the volunteer
Right.
is almost.
Yeah.
they're
So,
done.
so our concern, and I'm trying to speak directly to what you're saying is, we need to keep it pristine once it gets established.
Oh, absolutely.
And the answer is, I can't guarantee that because
The answer
it's
is it
so
takes all-
reliant upon the
The answer is
maintenance.
it takes all of us. It has us working with you.
Exactly. It
and
takes
us
everybody
working together.
pitching in. If, you know, let's have the knockouts that got Tuesday night and you guys are working the fields or, you know, you guys have been there, you know what we're talking about. So I can't specifically say I'm gonna keep it pristine.
We have to
Our
hire
worry
out for-
is-
We have to hire out for all that. We have
Yeah.
to hire field workers, trash.
Exactly.
maintenance,
The-
Concession.
The word volunteer, when you say that, people run now. There is no,
Yes.
and in the last few years, we've had to search out, used to, somebody's dad volunteered to coach the ball team.
Yeah.
It's not the way it is now. We've had to find record numbers of coaches to volunteer, prod, poke, to
Right.
get somebody to coach.
And
Yeah,
that
we have
scares
big
us.
groups like this.
Yeah.
They're-
So, just so you're hearing what I'm saying, that piece is scaring us to death, because what we see is you guys making a big investment, going out and raising money. The council's being asked to pitch in $500,000. John and Jennifer leave in 20 years. And-
This is my 15th spring with
Yeah,
John and
you've been
Jennifer.
Yeah, and Mike, I shouldn't have singled out anybody because there's a lot of people.
What I'm getting at is when I started, there was a 6-person board on each side, baseball and softball. A lot of good guys put their time and effort and into the kids. In the last 8 to 10 years, that number has dwindled to me and Jennifer and John, and now we have a couple of guys on that we brought on,
Right.
back in the spring last year.
So
And I think it's gonna be okay.
for the public that might be live streaming, the comments coming back and forth now are related to volunteerism and the upkeep that might be missing if they do the big investment and raise a lot of money. How are we going to keep it pristine? And we don't have those solutions yet, but we're going to try to get there. I can tell you, Seminole's not alone. I mean, this is happening nationwide and certainly statewide. especially in regard to restrooms. For whatever reason, maybe it's TikTok, I don't know, but somebody issues a challenge and now we have broken toilets everywhere. I mean, come on. So we're going to do our very, very best to keep it the way it's set up to be. Tornadoes, that's an outlier, okay? We can't anticipate that, but we're gonna do what we can to keep it insured, and hopefully, at least the more expensive pieces of it, we'll try to get insured. Any other comments, questions? Especially want to invite solutions? Okay? All right. Well, thank you again for being here and letting us have your input. Again, this is being live streamed. Just go to our YouTube channel for the City of Seminole. You'll be able to pull it up and have anything repeated that you might want to hear. Pass the word if you've got other coaches or families that want to know what happened. It should be on the YouTube here pretty quick. Thank you again. Have a great evening.